What if you could talk to an OG of Central Illinois real estate, a guy who's been investing for years, lending money for years to other investors, and you can learn not only from his gains and his wins, but also his losses, what to do and what not to do. And I want to bring you an investor just like that today, so stay tuned. Hey guys, my name is Jay Lehman. I'm a licensed realtor here in Champaign County, and I help people from all around the country and locally cash flow in the Midwest, usually in Champaign or Vermilion County. And I'm coming to you right now from Champaign, Illinois, where I'm meeting with an investor named Dan Moisen. Now, Dan's a family friend. We actually go back 20, 25 years with contacts way back at church before he was really a big real estate investor. And I've got to see him over time grow to where he's at now as a business owner, as an employee now, after he got bought out from his business, and as a great real estate investor and private money lender. And so I'm going to break down a bunch of questions with him, and we'll get to hear from one of the OGs, the original guys, himself, on how he's done it here in Champaign County. Dan, how you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Dan, we can go way back with relationships and whatnot. You are the first guy to invite me to the Central Illinois Real Estate Property Professionals, where I've met so many people as far as the real estate meetup group. But tell us, how did you get started personally in real estate?
Well, I knew in my early 20s that owning is better than renting and building equity. I didn't really understand it, but I just read it.
You're saying like as far as when you own a house?
Yeah, correct. You're correct. So, I was a senior in college and I was on spring break, had a job lined up, and I knew I was going to stay in this area. So I bought a house before graduation because I didn't want to start renting. I wanted to start owning. So that's a first chess move, right? Years later, when I decided to go to a bigger house, I kept that first house as my rental. And 1994, so let's see, we're 31 years. I made a lot of money on that house in 31 years.
So this is a great strategy I tell people all the time is you buy a house, you live in it, and then you can have favorable owner-occupied financing that could stay on that house, right? Maybe a 30-year fixed mortgage for a lower interest rate than maybe you get on a commercial loan. So you kept that. You had saved up enough money, obviously, to go and buy another house with a down payment without using your present home's equity. I think that is the key, because a lot of people can't do that. A lot of people have to flip their equity in the next house, but you were able to do that. So you did that, and that property was profitable for you almost immediately, I think, probably with a renter and the financing you had on it.
Yes, I would bet that it's probably paid for itself 2 to 3 times over already.
Wow. And you owned it for
31 years.
31 years, and you just keep on pumping it, right?
Yeah.
And so that's your first foray. So you get a second house, you keep your initial house. Then how do you grow from there?
Yeah, the second part is I was running a business, and I needed a place for my business. And you look at what's for sale, you look at what's for rent, you realize that your mortgage might be cheaper than what the rent would be, which makes sense, right? Because that person that's buying it has to make a profit.
Sure.
Right? So then I was more focused on my business at the time and not so much real estate, right? But I bought a commercial property and rented for myself, right? And you can kind of play that out over many years, but you're paying yourself rent instead of paying somebody else rent, and that obviously helps make money in real estate and develop a positive cash flow kind of right from the start.
So you start doing that from a business perspective. How did you start making the jump as far as collecting other rental properties? Because right now, as you presently sit, you have how many units?
121 doors.
121 doors. And that's a mix of a multifamily, single family, small multifamily. You've got a mix come across the board. So take us how you went from where you were at in your mid-20s, early 30s to where you're at now.
So to purchase a property, you often need, not always, but you often need some down payment. You want some capital to get started. And, maybe my first one was taking money out of my paycheck, right? So maybe think about it like you got a bucket and you got some money from your paycheck going into this bucket because I want to buy something. I have a goal. I have a vision, and I want to purchase something, and I need some down payment money. So initially it's just your paycheck going in there, part of your paycheck. Now I got my first house, right? So I got some rent money going in there. Then I got my commercial building. So you got that going in there. And what happens over time is as you have more sources going into this bucket, you can accomplish goals and buy things.
Right.
And so, it goes faster once you get, um, the more rental properties you have, the faster it goes, right? So what do you do when you've got, let's just say $30,000, $40,000 sitting in your real estate account because you're collecting rent from yourself and other people, right? Um, with my first house, and you're like, well, this is working pretty well, and I have some down payment money. Maybe I need to invest this and have more of these things producing.
Okay.
So as you continue to buy things, you start having more deposits going into this bucket, and it kind of snowballs.
So this deposit bucket, I mean, you have rents coming in, and it starts to become a pretty substantial number. And what I don't think people realize, and I talk to people a lot about this, is not only is it the excess cash flow after you pay all your bills and your mortgage, but it's that loan pay down. So you're building equity as well because you're paying off the loan. And some people don't realize that that's kind of one of the secret sauces of real estate is you're building thousands of dollars of equity when you get to your level every month that you don't necessarily realize right now, but it's there to tap if you need it. And then you have that extra cash flow. Okay. But then you decided to make a shift and you said, hey, I'm getting these excess deposits. I'm getting loan pay down. I have some equity and my business is successful. It's now IPO Berkshire Hathaway thing, but it's a successful small business. And so you decide I'm going to keep going or I'm going to take a quantum leap or is it just little by little?
Without boring all the details, I mean, my business was enough to pay me and to do okay, but it wasn't so lucrative. Margins were thin. It's a hustle. It's a grind. And it didn't take too long to realize, although I'm giving 2,080 hours or more to my 9 to 5, I might be making as much or more doing real estate. And so you start to realize, well, this is really lucrative over here. This is my like base, my 9 to 5. I'm living on this money. This over here is working really well too. Maybe I need to diversify and even do a little bit more of this because it's working on a smaller scale. It will probably work on a larger scale.
Now, this is something that I tell real estate investors. So it sounds like you are paying your bills with your everyday 9 to 5 business. Okay. 9 to 5 is a strong word when you're a business owner because honestly, you're probably way more than 9 to 5. It's your business, right? But a lot of people are 9 to 5 and that you paid your bills. What did you tap into your excess cash flows or were you just always rolling that into the next property?
That is a key question and one that I talk about a lot. And even to today, I still work a 9 to 5.
Hmm.
And what's interesting about that is, many people have said, hey, you make enough on real estate. Why don't you just do that full time? And it's actually worked out really well to fund growth is I've not really needed to be paid for my own real estate company because I work a 9 to 5 and get benefits, etc. But that has allowed me to have excess capital to do loans, to do investments, and to buy more. And so by not constantly needing that to live has really allowed that part to grow. And that's probably one of the most key points of what I've personally experienced.